Everyone, thank you for joining our meeting today. I will start by sharing my screen so we can take a look at the agenda. The first item on our agenda is welcome, roll call, and interactive question. So I'll stop sharing for just a moment and I'll do the roll call. Steve Clark is actually not going to be here today. Jacqueline Rhodes. Scott Sidlow.
I am here.
Oh, great. Jenny Sachs. David Director. Sean Stansel.
I'm here.
Thank you. Julie Prey. Cephas Hales Richardson. Crystal Gauld. And Francine is not here. And Mark Manfrey is not here. Gina Burrett.
She probably also won't be here. She's on vacation this week.
Okay. Jim Warner.
I'm here.
Great. Ed McGargy.
Here.
Becky Yurkovich. You're here. And Laura is not here. So it looks like, it looks like we do not have quorum.
Benny, just hop on if that changes anything.
Okay. All right. So let me share my my screen.
Is it possible there's another group of people at the different
Oops.
link at the different request that was made earlier in the years? Because that still popped up on my calendar.
I can shoot everybody a quick email if you guys don't mind waiting a moment and we can see if we get any other takers.
Okay. Sounds good.
Here's David coming on.
Oh yeah, there's Jenny and David. Okay. Hold on just a minute. Yeah. We may have quorum now. Let me see.
Hi, Carol. I started with the today's reminder link, and it asked me for a passcode, and then I went back to yesterday's reminder and it didn't. So.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you made it here. So let me see if we have quorum now. Hold on just a minute. Oops. Okay. All right.
Incidentally, I had a question about the interactive question.
Yes.
I'm assuming that you intend that to be open to everyone, including members of the public who may be just observing from the outside. And so I'm assuming everybody is welcome to use that link.
Everybody is welcome to, yes. Yeah. Now it looks like we have quorum for our public members, but we need one more for our government attendees. So let's see, can someone actually fill in for one of the others or no? I don't know if that's possible. Like, I don't know, could Anne be the designated person for Mark? Or...
Well, I think we can have the meeting, we just can't vote.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're so close to being able to pass the meeting minutes or to accept the meeting minutes. So we'll just continue. All right, so I'll share my screen so we can do the interactive question now. Okay.
Carol, I'll look up that question if you can have a proxy for next time.
Okay, all right, thank you. So if you can please get out your phones or just open another window in your browser on your computer, and you go to www.menti.com, and the code is 66071192. So again, that's menti.com, and the code is 66071192. And the question is, in what ways are you sustainable regarding clothing? So sometimes like our interactive questions in the beginning have dealt with single-use plastics, diet, transportation, various other elements that contribute to being more sustainable or minimizing them in order to not be as harmful to the environment. So what about clothing though? In what ways are you sustainable regarding clothing? And I think what maybe I can do from now on is maybe even like when we're done, to send out a summary so we actually have records of these, because I think it's great information. Let's see what the answers are. I do not buy a lot of them and save the ones I have for entirely too long. That's wonderful. Keep your clothing and not just have like throwaway clothing that you keep buying new ones. So that's a great suggestion. Direct swapping versus donation of outgrown kids' clothing. That's a really good one too, because when you directly swap with someone, you know someone else is getting your clothing. But I was really surprised that a very small percentage of the clothing that we donate to, say, Goodwill, like in bulk, actually gets to other people. A lot of it ends up in a landfill. So I love that option. If you're directly swapping with someone, you know someone else is getting your clothing. Secondhand clothing purchases. I love going to Goodwill and just buying clothes there. It's really good. I find really good quality, and you save some money and you help the environment. So it seems like a win-win-win. And clothing that someone didn't want anymore, it may be something you're looking for. So that's great. And then you're not contributing to companies making more clothing and contributing a negative impact on the environment. Oh, the passcode for this meeting doesn't work. A lot of people can't get in because of it. Okay, I think you mean the Zoom meeting and not the Mentimeter that we're doing now, but the sustainability team is going to be working on that. My fashion is from the 80s. That's great. So there's no way you're buying new clothes that are from the 80s. So that's helpful. Thrift stores. Buy very little, mostly natural fibers. Because actually, if you create new polyester clothing, that's using fossil fuels. So that's great. Natural fibers, and you buy very little. That's wonderful. Don't buy fast fashion. Yeah, you may be spending less than half for the same item as somewhere else, and it's just not made as well. And then once you put them through a certain number of washings, they start falling apart, and then you just end up throwing it out because you probably can't even give that away if you wanted to. Buying things that will last, not trendy items. Yeah, buying good quality clothes that last. That's another way to be sustainable for the environment. And you keep it for a long time. So that's great. So I really appreciate all of this feedback. I find that like we share such great information with one another and great advice. Let's see here. So just so you can see, these were the answers here. All right, so now we're going to go back to the agenda. I'm sorry, that's not the agenda. For some reason, I'm having trouble with my screen sharing, so I apologize for that. Oops. Actually, I wish there was a way I could, okay, thank you. Now I want to go over the rules for public comment. And actually I have to read that, so that's why I stopped sharing my screen, and then I'll go back to sharing it again. So here are the rules for public comment. So throughout this meeting, we will be providing the opportunity for residents and guests to provide comments or feedback, during which time comments may be submitted by the following. 1, guests may submit written comment to the email sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. Again, that's sustaindelco@co.delaware.pa.us. Number 2, guests may also provide written comment in the chat window of the Zoom meeting. 3, finally, guests may hit the raise hand function during a period of public comment in which they will have the opportunity to speak using their camera and microphone.
Carol, we can't have them use their camera and mic.
Oh, that doesn't, oh, okay, so that needs to be revised. So
Yeah.
they can I type it in the chat?
Correct.
Okay, sorry for that. You can only type it in the chat. So now I'm going to share my screen again so we can go back to the agenda.
Sean, looking at the participant list, does that mean that we have 2 people attending that are not panelists or in the public?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting minutes, but we don't have quorum, so we will postpone that until our next meeting.
Julie just joined. Does that change quorum?
No, I believe Julie is from the public and not a government,
I just joined, Crystal.
I know you're from the public as well, so we need another.
No, I'm on the commission.
Yeah, Crystal is.
I'm sorry, what?
She means
Crystal
she's
Gold.
not one of the, we're short on county employees like that
Yes,
side. 'Cause you have to have
Oh,
quorum
gotcha.
for
yeah.
both.
Sorry.
Thank you, Becca, for explaining that better than I did.
All
Thank
good.
you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the Office of Sustainability update. Becca.
Wonderful. Give me 1 moment. Sorry, I was trying to figure out the login issue. Oh, that's back up for y'all. Alrighty. Alrighty, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. So first and foremost, I wanted to start with some of our larger project updates. So some of those things that we have been on our agenda for several months now. So first and foremost, just wanted to give a zero waste plan update, and Jim Warner, please feel free to hop in. So as of right now, the Zero Waste Associates have an updated draft of the plan, and they hosted a advisory committee meeting on June 29th. I believe the commission was invited. At the very least, it was the folks who were on our Zero Waste subcommittee were offered to attend. From there, they then accepted a second round of public comments until July 10th. In which case they're going to utilize those comments as well as comments from the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection to do another plan update. From there, the plan will then be going for a 30-day circulation to all Delaware County municipalities. So I would strongly like to encourage everybody to keep their municipalities on watch for that. It's important to note, though, there is no formal action required by the municipality. That circulation period is just a time in which they can review and provide comments specifically. From there, after the 30 days, there will be another round, another update in response to any comments that were received, and then it will go to County Council for approval in early fall. Jim, did you have anything we should add about the zero waste?
Not really. I would just add that the authority submitted their comments a couple weeks ago. I don't really remember the date. We received feedback from Zero Waste Associates about the comments and incorporating them. We have also supported some questions from Ann Ryan of the DEP to the authority in order to answer some questions they have about past ordinances by municipalities and several other more historic circumstances that they want to clear up that maybe weren't as documented in this draft as they had hoped. So we've responded to all that, and I'm sure that's all going to be, it wasn't very critical stuff, but I'm sure they'll be incorporating all of that as well.
Awesome, thank you. And David, did you have something to, I know you were one of the folks that commented as well. Did you have something else that you wanted to say about that as well?
Sorry, I don't think so. I think, pretty much everything that I needed to say, I put in the written comments. So I'm okay.
Wonderful. So I would just encourage you guys to keep an eye out, probably at the very end of the summer, for the next finalize or the next draft prior to going to County Council. That is a time in which comments are still accepted, and those drafts are always found on the Delaware County website at delcopa.gov/workshops. So next, I am happy to share some updates on our sustainability plan. So I know originally we were supposed to be doing our final approval today. However, our schedule has gotten pushed back a little bit. The plan is currently in graphic design, and they just needed a little bit additional time. But I did want to share with you, this is one of the draft, a couple of the photos from the draft. So this is largely what each focus area will look like. We kept those colors that we've used throughout the process. So each section starts with a large photo, all of which are from Delaware County. This one in particular is from Don Guanella. And then it goes into our goals. Each section then provides a brief introduction, as well as some of the baseline data that we have to date. And then it opens up with those goals and targets. And then it goes more into our content. So this is just an example of one of the spreads of what it looks like. There's still, we're still working to tweak some of the images and just kind of move some things around, but I was very excited to finally be able to show you something. And just another highlight on the right of this image, we also included 2 case studies in each focus area, just highlighting one thing that the county has done in each area so far, as well as something in our community. So for example, on natural resources, we noted Haverford Township's use of native plants. So moving forward, just so you guys know what the timeline looks like as we're moving forward. So as of right now, it's in graphic design. They've had it for 2 or 3 weeks so far, and they should be wrapping up very shortly. In our August meeting that will be coming to you for final plan approval. It's worth noting that there haven't been any additional changes to content following our last meeting, which would have been May. And then lastly, this means with the updated calendar, it will be going to County Council for approval during their 18th and 19th meetings. The last thing I wanted to share with you is while the plan is out of my hands, one thing that we've been working on is starting to come up with our implementation strategy. So in doing this, recently what we did is we queried all of the actions in our plan, not by focus area, but by who the lead departments or agencies are. And in having those sections, we then broke it down by what's the estimated time frame that each of those actions are supposed to be implemented in. And we really looked at each action and determined if it was something that we could do in-house with current staffing capabilities, or if it's something that would require a consultant or another expert in the field. From there, in the next couple of weeks, we're looking to have internal meetings with each of the departments under sustainability to share with them what these actions are and talk to see where it can fit into their work programs over the next couple of years. And from there, we'll also ensure that each of those actions that they've identified for next year is incorporated in any budgets or if there's any budget considerations. With that, are there any questions on the plan at this time? Wonderful. So the other thing I wanted to bring up with you, so as many of you know from serving on the commission for several years, our annual reorganization meeting is in October. So I just wanted to kind of put that in your front of your mind to show who's up for coming back for a new term. At this time, so David, Jenny, and Scott are up this fall. If any of you are deciding to not stay on the commission, please feel free to reach out to me individually. Otherwise, I'll just assume that you want to stay with us forever. The other things I wanted to highlight with you guys, there are some really neat things.
I'm sorry,
going on.
Becca.
Go ahead.
Oh, my apologies. I was just curious if at some point, if you don't know right now, what their positions, unless they know, who's a municipal representative, things like that.
So Jenny is water, Scott is a municipal rep, and David, I'm not sure what you are, but hopefully you know.
I'm public, at least that's what the website says.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave, go ahead.
I'm also an associate member of the Media EAC, if that becomes useful at some point or relevant.
So I'm not really eligible again because it was changed that you can't be a council member, you have to be a municipal employee. And plus, I'm not seeking re-election in my council, in my community. So
Okay.
I'm not eligible to be the government liaison. I also kind of think that I've been with the commission since the start. This is the first 3-year full period, and I was also on the transition team that led to this development. But I think it's time to pass it on to somebody else. I really enjoy being on this commission, but I believe in leadership changing hands, and so I think that I'm going to go with that philosophy.
Well, we will surely miss you, Scott. And in your position, if you have anybody in the municipal circuit that you think would make a good fit, please feel free to let us know so we can do some outreach.
Okay.
But we hope you can stay involved. Always looking
Yes.
for volunteers.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Any other questions about terms? Okay, wonderful. So the only other thing is I just wanted to share with you some of the things that are going on in our departments. And for some of the folks that from the county that are on, if there's anything that you want to share, please feel free to hop in. Ooh, I don't know what happened. Oh, here we go. We're out of order. So if you guys don't know, Parks and Recreation is hosting the summer concert series. They host concerts almost every single night in Rose Tree Park. They start at 7:30 p.m. And everybody's welcome to attend. So if you haven't looked at the schedule, please feel free to visit the Parks and Rec website, and feel free to go to as many concerts as your heart desires. From our Public Works Department, they're very exciting. So some of the projects we've talked about over the years are finally coming to fruition. So the Rose Tree Destination Playground is set to open next week. So next Thursday, they'll be doing the formal ribbon cutting on the new playground. And that is, if you pull into the parking lot and just look straight ahead, you'll see this giant play space. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, this afternoon, Public Works also did a groundbreaking at the Little Flower Manor Park in Darby. They are finally doing some park improvements over there. So they will be installing a loop trail, some ADA accessible parking, a community garden space with additional plots very similar to Rose Tree, as well as some other updates. So those should be coming very soon. The other big thing I wanted to share with you guys is about the Government Center, which is our office building in media. We finally are starting to formally update the recycling program. Over the years, it's something that's largely gone to the wayside, and many folks have gotten away from it. So we're really hoping to rejuvenate the recycling program in the Government Center. So Alex Danovich from the Zero Waste Associates, or as you know him, in largely working with the Zero Waste Associates, he has actually come back as a consultant to help us launch this program. So recently he started by doing something called a bin inventory, where he walked through all of our buildings and looked at our existing trash cans and our recycling bins. So where they are, how they're being used, and identified where there are some potential solutions to enhance the program. In doing this, he also looked at our existing waste contracts to see how often our trash is getting picked up, how often our recycling is getting picked up, what can go in each of those things, and identified potential changes there as well. Another large thing that has happened is we've also created a county green team. So what this is it's members or employees across departments that through our interactions have shown their dedication or interest in sustainability. So we've pulled them together to really form a core group of champions for helping provide education and advocacy as we start to implement some of these changes throughout the county. So we had our first meeting with them last week. And it was largely looking at the findings from Alex's bin inventory and looking at our different options. So the three options that were recommended for this project were: one, keeping all of the existing bins in the building and either applying stickers or just doing more education. This is obviously the lowest cost option, but has some necessary challenges. Option two would be replacing the recycling bins in all common areas or adding bins to common areas. I had heard a number that there are currently only 26 recycling bins throughout the entire courthouse and government center, which houses nearly 1,000 employees. So this would just be adding to those existing bins, making them more visible and having some consistency throughout. Option three would be the most expensive, but it would be just completely starting fresh, getting matching bins throughout, updating what's at people's desks as well as in common spaces, just to really start around a culture of zero waste and for consistency throughout. So those three options were presented to the green team. and a survey is going to be coming out shortly for folks to really review each of those options and decide what they would like to see. The one thing I wanted to present to you about this is we wanted to open up this green team, which is currently made up of all county employees, to see if somebody from the Sustainability Commission would be interested in sitting on that group to just kind of provide an additional external perspective, as well as to kind of report back on the progress of that group back to the commission. It's worth noting that these meetings are during the workday. They're going to be quarterly. And the last thing of note is that even once the green team or the recycling program is up and running, it's anticipated that we'll continue to touch base and meet with this group to push forward other sustainability efforts in the building. So, is there any potential interest in someone serving on that group? Otherwise, I'll let you think it over.
Yeah, Becca, I do have a question though.
Sure.
Is the Solid Waste Authority involved in the recycling program for the county?
So for this project in particular or in general?
Well, here at my building, which I happen to be co-located with the Solid Waste Authority, they have they used to pick it up paper and cans from our office. They stopped doing that and they hired a trash service to pick up just paper, and then we take the cans out to the bins out in the parking lot. But I imagine every building, and you're just talking about the courthouse, so I imagine every building in that the county operates somewhat differently. I just wondered, the Solid Waste Authority doesn't pick up the recycling materials, or when you collect them and in the courthouse, someone else has to come and take that away?
Yes. So as of right now, you make a really great point. So this project is starting as a pilot strictly in the government center and the courthouse. Because as you're noting, every single one of the county's buildings is currently operating in a different way for recycling. So we're hoping that we can get a strong program, at least kind of where the critical mass of employees is, and then start rolling it out in our satellite locations as well. For the government center, they currently have a contract with Republic Recycling to collect recycling materials from the government center. It's currently a compactor that gets picked up about once a month. So it's not going through the Solid Waste Authority.
But the Solid Waste Authority is going to rehire the recycling coordinator, and that's not going to be taken over by sustainability?
The recycling coordinator role?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My understanding is that it's still going to be housed out of the Solid Waste Authority.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. And for anybody else on the call, as Ed noted, the Solid Waste Authority is looking for a new recycling coordinator. So it's my understanding you can find the job description on the Solid Waste Authority's website. If you guys know anybody in your networks that would be interested. And that's all I had.
Thanks,
Are there any
Becca.
other questions or anything? We have a question from a member of the public.
I don't see that question.
Corey Cruz has his hand raised. Corey, would you be able to enter your question in either the Q&A or the chat box, please? Never mind. All right.
Any other questions for Becca? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Becca, for that update. And the sustainability plan document is looking really good. The content's really good, but to see it packaged that way is just so exciting. So Thank you. Thank you for all of your work and so I'll start sharing my screen again to go to the next item on the agenda. Oh, the next item agenda is public comment. Is there any public comment?
So, right, somebody can't verbally ask their question, right? That we only have the option for typing?
Correct.
Were there any emails to the email address?
So I do have a question from Steve Clark, who's a member of this commission. He wasn't able to make it today, but he did have a question. He said, given the likelihood of 100 to 1,000 year floods as recently experienced in Vermont, Massachusetts, and New York, it would seem like the resiliency section of the plan should contain specific targets to make sure that Delaware County municipalities can prepare for such catastrophes, which seem likely to hit our region. Perhaps Delco can organize municipalities to assess 1,000-year risks, identify vulnerable regions, and pursue funding to prepare in a coordinated fashion. Is this part of the current plan? So I think that's a great comment. The target in our climate resiliency section is not specific to 100 or 1,000-year floodplain. This is a section that we actually really struggled to find a meaningful target for, because we wanted to make sure that each of the targets was really reflective of the action that Delaware County was taking. And when dealing with natural hazards, there are certain things that are just completely out of our control. So for example, if we considered like reducing property damage or reducing repetitive loss properties, which means it's a property that's constantly submitting claims for the National Flood Insurance Program. We recognize that even if Delaware County did everything perfectly, all you need is one major historic storm. And even if you prepare as perfectly as you planned for, there still may be damage. So we didn't feel that that target would necessarily reflect our taking action. So the target we did set in the climate resiliency section is more so related, and I can pull up the direct language for y'all. It is related more to providing education and promoting resiliency efforts in each of our municipalities. This hasn't been a concerted effort to ensure that all 49 municipalities are thinking about resiliency and really considering hazards each year. So we're measuring the amount of municipalities that we are doing a conscious outreach to, rather than something like dollars or property damage. With that in mind, though, I will say in many of our actions, we have identified needing to baseline and identify vulnerable communities. I think off the top of people's heads, many people know where there are bad flooding areas, but we also need to start considering where are people vulnerable to extreme heat or other climate hazards that may not have been considered as a whole. So that is one of our actions, to identify vulnerable communities. And the second piece of his question was to pursue funding to prepare in a coordinated fashion. As of right now, our emergency services department is not receiving a consistent flow of mitigation funding. So a lot of the times following a major disaster like Hurricane Ida or Sandy, the federal government will offer grants for mitigation, but it's always after a major disaster has already occurred. So one of the actions that we're recommending in the plan is for a more consistent budget to be established in the County Emergency Services Department for continual mitigation, rather than having to wait for additional funding after major disasters. So hopefully that answers Steve's questions. But if anybody
I
has
could-
other.
Yeah, I
Go
was
ahead,
going to
Catherine.
quickly add to it. I think there are a little bit of actions in other areas too that kind of get to being a little bit more resilient against stormwater and flooding. And like you said, Beck, I mean, if you get a really major storm coming up the coastline, you know, there's not much we can do about that at this point, if it's a rarity, something pretty significant. But I think some of the things related to like identifying additional open spaces, we had talked about landscaping, we had talked about buffers, planting more trees, like all the things that help to absorb more stormwater and prevent as much from running off into our waterways can help along the way as well. It's just not consolidated in one spot.
Absolutely.
Let me also add one thing to that. In that, I'm not sure that it makes all that much difference whether we're looking at 100-year or 1,000-year floodplain maps, because the issue, you know, we're dealing with municipality boundaries, and you know, regardless of how widespread the issues may be from Darby Creek, there are still you know, issues relating to Darby Creek, which we have to address whether we're looking at 100-year maps or 1,000-year maps. So, you know, I think that while there's value in looking at those longer term maps, there is plenty to be had just from the 100-year ones.
Well, a 1,000-year storm, it wouldn't be any difference if the entire county was wooden, woods, because that paving would be well over by that point, because the ground wouldn't be taking any water in a 1,000-year storm. So, yeah, we can't consider the 1,000-year storm. That would take too much land from private property rights. We can't even keep municipalities from letting them develop in the 100-year storm yet.
And it's well beyond prior, even wildest dreams of what that might be anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I should have said nightmare, not dreams.
Wonderful. Thank you for adding that clarification as well.
It looks like we have some more questions from Corey. Did you want to read those, Becca, if you can see them?
Sure. So the first question is this how meetings will be in terms of public comment. Corey, we're still trying to figure out a happy medium. We had an issue during a previous meeting that required us to change some of our permissions. So we're still trying to work on that. I apologize that it's difficult in answering questions this way. The second question is, what is this organization doing to improve weatherization in Delaware County? So the Delaware County Community Action Agency currently has a weatherization program, which focuses on low-income residents. And in doing our sustainability plan, we were able to reach out to them and really see what opportunity there is to expand the program. And we learned that that program is not fully expending all of its funds each year. So in other words, it's not being fully utilized to its largest potential. So one of the things that we recommended in this plan is really just performing additional outreach and trying to really advertise that existing resource as it stands. So it is being fully utilized and being able to assist further residents each year. That's just one of the things we're looking to do with weatherization. The second or the last question is, how can funds provided by the recent IRA be used to implement more sustainable and affordable in Delaware County? One thing I know that as specific projects are coming out, or specific housing, here we go. Okay. I was just going to say, as specific monies are coming out for certain kind of topics or causes, Delaware County is evaluating each of those opportunities for projects. For housing in particular, unfortunately, I can't speak to that so much. I'd be happy to touch base with our Office of Community Development, Community OHCD, Office of Housing and Community Development. I'd be happy to get back with you to see how they're utilizing additional funding.
I can help answer that question too.
That would be great.
So-
Please hop in.
So the Inflation Reduction Act programs are more directly to the homeowner. It's not money that comes through the county government. That money will be given, best case scenario, point of sale, when you're making the purchase for insulation or for heat pumps or for HVAC improvements and things like that. We're still waiting for those programs to be rolled out from the federal government to the state energy offices. Then once the state energy offices have the program guidelines, then they will be setting up programs for the state of Pennsylvania. So we still have some time before we can wait before we have to wait for those Inflation Reduction Act programs to become available. But I'm paying very close attention to this. One of the reasons I'm not going to be on the Sustainability Commission is I'm working on a small business to do energy audits for this to help homeowners like the person who asked the question be successful here in Delaware County. But Delaware County is very much a desert of home performance. There's not one installation company based in Delaware County. They're all based in other areas. There's plenty of HVAC companies. And I think there's still some learning on that has to be done in terms of heat pumps and educating HVAC companies to try to get in line with the IRA programs. But things are coming, not as fast as I'm suspecting the person who wrote these emails asking these questions. They're not coming as fast as we would like, but they are coming, and I know I'm paying very close attention to them.
Thank you so much for that update, Scott.
Sure.
I appreciate your expertise. The only other thing I wanted to add, which I totally forgot about, if you are not aware, PICO will do like walkthroughs of your home to see or provide opportunities for being more efficient. And I just wanted to put this plug in because my parents did this recently after I signed them up at our sustainability conference. And they said, so it's a $50 fee. And they said that it was completely worth the money. During that walkthrough, the representative that came through the home not only provided really actionable items that they could do without having to hire another consultant, but they also replaced 26 light bulbs in their house during the review. So that is another resource that's available to folks relatively low cost for just kind of touching base with how your home can be more energy efficient. So I just wanted to put that plug out there as well.
There were a couple of other comments from Corey. One, he said, I work in this field and would like to help. I'm a green building engineer. And then just another comment that's exactly where I was going with this. So he was in agreement. So
I would love to get in touch with Corey. ScottSidlow1@gmail.com.
Are there any other questions or any other public comment? No? Okay, with that, I'll share my screen so we can go to the next item on the agenda. So the next item is Sustainability Conference discussion. Becca.
Sure. So I really just wanted to open the floor to any of our commission members or members of the public to just kind of gather your feedback on this sustainability conference from this year. So as many of you know, it was hosted on June 8th at Widener University, where we're happy to have close to 300 in person, which was tremendous growth, almost double the year before. And for those who were able to attend and volunteer, just wanted to touch base to see kind of the larger thoughts, or for those who couldn't participate, if you have any ideas for next year that we could maybe utilize to get more people involved. So feel free to hop in, anybody.
Well, I'd like to compliment Widener University. I thought that was an excellent facility, and they were very good for us, that location. So I enjoyed it.
I was only able to be there in the morning, so I didn't get the full flavor of the afternoon, and I can't remember what the agenda looked like for the afternoon, but I know that we had so many amazing speakers and there wasn't a whole lot of time for like live Q&A. We might actually be at a point where you have like 2 tracks going at the same time. Divide people up, and then that makes the sessions a little smaller, and then allow for that Q&A. So you have to make choices about where you go, but I think there's enough information to share, enough interest that, you know, a track A and a track B simultaneously, I think we might be there.
I agree. I think, I mean, we could have a whole separate track on zero waste, you know. So a half day session on zero waste, and you know, maybe break it up into 4 topic areas, 2 half-day sessions in 2 tracks, as you're suggesting, because yeah, there was plenty to do, and I know a number of people expressed disappointment in not being able to ask questions.
Oh, go ahead. I just wanted to offer, I noticed that the audience was a little older, and you know, that happens when you have something during a business day. And during it, I was wondering if there was something we could do to engage students, you know, maybe outreach to all of the universities and see if we can offer, I don't know, credit or something for student groups to come, so that we could sort of reach a little bit of the next generation a bit.
I will say, sorry, just I want to address that.
Maybe time of year, because it was when college was out of session.
But high schools are still in, and at the end of the year, after AP exams, after most of the work done, that might be a great time to get high school environmental science classes, to get them in, because college students that are there in the summer, there just aren't as many. They're there, but it's just a smaller population. But high school environmental science could be interesting.
Well, it depends partly on whether you stick to that, you know, June timetable for it. And perhaps you do because it's better for Widener and easier to schedule, and that's fair, you know, fair enough. But I do like the idea of engaging some of the other schools. Swarthmore certainly ought to have some students to contribute. You know, Villanova, I would think.
It would be awesome for Villanova, Drexel, maybe even University of Delaware, colleges that are on train lines. If we could get a partnership with SEPTA to get trail passes for students attending, if it's a transit accessible location.
I enjoyed the oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, to piggyback off the idea of having like different tracks or different, like, kind of breaking off into different groups. I think there's a real opportunity for people to network around topics that are really interesting to them. So for instance, like the bike coalition of guys were there, and like there could be like a whole section on like alternative forms of transportation, and like that people would be really interested in having conversations about how to make their, you know, what do they need in their communities? What are we, you know, what are we trying to achieve? You know, and especially of course now as the plan is being rolled out, you know, trying to use it as a way to kind of
have those conversations with people in the community and bring them together to. I would appreciate, because I was doing that from table to table around the exhibition room, but it would be cool if there were like ways to have those conversations a little more intentional, put it that way.
The plan might even, the different focus areas in the plan might also lend themselves to tracks for the next conference. It's kind of a ready-made format. Maybe different amounts of time allotted to each, but it would be a nice way to connect the conference to the plan and kind of have some continuity with that.
Yeah, the conference was either really interesting or really not so interesting, depending on the topic sometimes, and having tracks and focuses and kind of some kind of organizing structure. Like, it was just general sustainability, which is such a nebulous big thing, that some sessions were more interesting than others, depending on what you're interested in. So yeah, you may be able to, broaden it out if you have focus areas or something like that. That's the right idea.
I love
But I
the
enjoyed the
idea.
conference a lot. I was really glad I went.
I love the idea of splitting up setting up the display area, as a networking area based on the focus areas, or sort of related to the focus areas in a certain way. So you pick your area that you're networking in, you pick your area that you're listening to presentations and everything, sort of gives you a path to explore a subject area and a provider network in that subject area.
Wonderful. These are all great ideas. The one thing I did want to say is we did try to do some outreach rather, to the Chester Upland School District, because it's right down the road. But because of the time of the year that we picked, it was really tricky with the end of the year. They had their 8th grade graduation, and all the high school students had a half day with other festivities. So it's something that we would definitely like to expand to for next year. The other question I wanted to ask you all is about kind of timing as well as the length of the day. So as many of you we had a lot of members of just the general public, and sometimes it can be tricky because folks have to work during the day. Is this something that you think should continue kind of on a work day? Is the length of a full day, does that make sense? Or do you guys have any thoughts around kind of the scheduling?
Well, I think, but going back to the tracked idea, if you had half-day tracks, 3 hours is going to be focused on energy in the morning, and 3 hours in the afternoon is going to be focused on waste. Then maybe you get municipalities to come to the waste section, you get the HVAC contractors to come to the energy section. And, something like that, where you try to organize who you want coming to a particular section.
And I think there's at least enough for a day, with a 3-hour morning, a 3-hour afternoon. But one other option, I'm not sure how it would work venue wise and so forth, but to have maybe the keynote the evening before, so that if people wanted to participate in some way, they could at least attend the keynote, meet people, maybe see the vendors set up. And then the next day would be kind of like the more conferencey things.
Good idea.
Maybe an evening session in advance of the session of the real thing.
Because our keynote was fabulous, and I think to have had that in the evening, there might have been even more people that would have attended. So makes it a longer event. There's an overnight, like there's logistically more, but could be a way to expand and reach more.
Wonderful. So thank you guys so much for all that feedback. Are there any other just kind of outstanding thoughts or ideas, considerations that we should keep in our back pocket for next year?
And all of these suggestions are on top of it already being incredible and having
Oh,
the second incredible one in a row, because the first one was just phenomenal. So it's great track record, obviously interest, obviously support. So these are all ways to just, this is just making it even better.
We appreciate that.
Maybe have big announcements or big rollouts or big something to announce, something to organize, or like we want Delaware County to come together on this topic for a couple of hours, and people in that community.
And was there, and I just was kind of tuned out, was there much press related to it? I may have just missed it or not been looking in the right places, but if the conference were tied to an announcement, then there's more press coverage, more attention, that, connecting all of those things together.
Yeah, I don't think I saw any press. There must have been some. Well, Pete Bannon was probably there from the Delco Times, because he covers pretty much everything. But beyond the Delco Times, I didn't see anybody. I didn't see any TV coverage, which would have been nice to have. It would be nice to get some NPR coverage too.
Sure.
Right, the Swarthmore radio station to cover it, right? College radio stations.
Hey, you're talking to an ex-WXPN guy.
Yeah, or even like a press packet for the event. I'm sorry, this is like, I clearly have ideas. A press packet to send out before, to let people know what's happening, when, why they should cover it.
Yeah. I mean, that's how you do it. Yeah.
Sure. So we did have some outreach go through the county's PR department. So they did do a couple press releases ahead of time, but it's just a matter of actually getting the folks there. So if any of you guys have contacts with any of these outlets, please pass them our way, because we're happy to harass them to try to get them to come out.
No, I think you did a very good job with the advance, because the social media, the Facebook page was loaded with stuff and the panelists and promoting it. So that part was good. The newspapers anymore, I don't know that there's a lot of readership anymore in newspapers.
Wonderful. Well, thank you guys again for all of your feedback. If any time throughout the year you guys see superstar presentation or speakers, please feel free to reach out at any time, because we're always looking for ideas. So we greatly appreciate your feedback and hope next year can be bigger and better than ever. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Becca? All right, hearing none, I'll share my screen to go back to the agenda. Oh, actually, there's a public comment. So I thought I saw a question in public comment. When is the next meeting? So the next meeting is on August 11th from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Is there any other public comment? Okay. Just one more time, is there any public comment? Okay, all right, hearing none. I'll share my screen again to go to the next item on the agenda. And the next item on the agenda is review, review action items from the last meeting. Becca, did you want to touch on the Meet the Members and Keep Delco Beautiful subcommittee?
Sure. So meet the members. I will resend this link again. If you have not already, please fill that survey out for me. Just a reminder, what that is we're looking to highlight all of you who have dedicated your time to this commission for such a long time. So we want to highlight you on our social media pages. I'm probably going to start rolling that out very soon, as I'm still waiting other folks to submit. So thank you. And then the Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful, I just wanted to update you all on that. Full transparency, I have put that down for quite a bit, trying to get our sustainability plan wrapped up and finished. But my goal is to do the targeted outreach to the organizations that you guys had recommended in one of our previous meetings. So like our watershed groups and other folks that are related to trash and litter pickups, to start getting a key group of folks for the advisory committee. Then in hopefully late August or early September, we'll pull together those folks for a meeting in which I have to present a community assessment. So looking at kind of what the existing programs are, where are the identified problem areas, what do people like about the county, what do people not like about the county. And I will say I'm happy to share the results of that with this group as well. And finally, just one more reminder is that another reason to fill out the Meet the Members. It's one of the questions in there is asking if you want to participate in that advisory committee for the Keep Pennsylvania Beautiful. So that is that update. And Carol, I'm not sure if you had anything else.
Let's see. It looks like when I look at the action items that were set at the last meeting, it looks like we covered that. So let me share my screen again. Oh, sorry. I don't have the agenda. Wait. Hold on just a second. The next item on the agenda is new business. I guess before we open it up to new business, one of the items under that is recognition of aero aggregates. Becca, did you want to say anything about that?
Sure, I don't know if you want to elaborate on this, Carol. You had mentioned just for everyone's behalf, if you've been following the news at all, we had quite an issue with I-95 in the past couple months. And it was Carol's recommendation to just give a shout out to the company Aero Aggregates for their tremendous work in patching that area of I-95. If you're not familiar, Aero Aggregates is actually a Delaware County company based out of Eddystone, which takes recycled glass to create a product which is used as a construction fill material. So just wanted to recognize them, and hopefully in the coming months, we can maybe have them as a guest speaker here. But I'm sure, as you guys know, they're quite busy right now. So not sure if there's anything you wanted to add to that, Carol.
No, I guess not, but it would be great to actually have them in this meeting so we can ask them questions, and yeah, so that would be great to have them here in the future. And it's really neat to recognize like a Delaware County focused business that's doing such neat things that need to be done. So let me share my screen again. Still, it's just new business. So does anyone else have any other new business that they would like to bring up today?
Yeah, Carol, I just wanted to put on the calendar here that in September, since the Sustainability Commission is now a nominating organization for conservation district directors, I will be sending a form to let you know that we will have 2 openings for directors. There may not be opening. In other words, the existing directors may want to be reappointed. There are 2 very good ones. We have Cheryl Tamola, who is our chairperson, is up for reappointment, and also Steve Limbo, which is a farm member that is up for reappointment. I will be asking them and in our next meeting whether or not they want to be reappointed, but otherwise we'll need to search for additional candidates.
Okay, so you'll let us know.
I will.
Is there any other new business that anyone would like to bring up? Okay, hearing none. I'll share my screen to go into the next item on the agenda. And the next item is set action items for the next meeting. So the action items that I have written on my sheet is obviously at our next meeting, if we have quorum, we want to approve the April and the May meeting minutes. And we received a lot of feedback for the next conference, so just for Becca to take that into account. Were there any other action items for this meeting that you have recorded, Becca?
Just for everybody to fill out the meet the members.
To meet the members, yes. Fill out the meet the members, and you're going to be resending it, right, Becca, to everyone? Okay. All right. So with that, let me share my screen again to go to the next item on the agenda, which is a public comment. So it looks like.
Carol, we do have something in the Q&A. We have a volunteer actually who has sent us a PDF from the Solid Waste Authority's website, apparently, which is a little bit outdated, and has offered to update it for us. And I believe we should take them up on it. I'm looking at it now, and it definitely needs updating. Talks about CFLs.
I guess if there's a way that we can have that attendee identified and then.
I think Becca's got it covered here.
Okay. Oh, it's Corey.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right,
Good. All right. Okay. Is there any other public comment?
Nothing in the email.
No. Okay. All right. Hearing no other public comment, I'll share my screen again. Just our next item on the agenda is to adjourn. So if there's nothing else to share, does anyone have anything else they want to share? No. Okay. All right. So would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Okay. Thanks, Scott. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, we don't have a quorum. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm so used to. Sorry, we don't have a
All
quorum.
right. Quick question, Carol. I wasn't on at the beginning. Do you have a quorum? Do we have a quorum now?
No, we need a Delaware County employee.
Oh, county side.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So sorry, we don't have to make a motion or anything, but all right. Well, hopefully we'll see you all at the next meeting, and hopefully we'll have quorum. That would be great, so we can get some of our meeting minutes approved. So
we need to have people at the next one because we want to approve the sustainability plan.
That's another good reason to have them here. Yes, yes, we do. So with that, have a good evening, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Bye.
Thank you, Carol.
Bye.
Thank you.